everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. I am so thrilled you're here today because I have a very special guest to introduce to you. His name is Ted Prodromou. He's America's leading LinkedIn coach. He's the award-winning, best-selling author of 5 books, including Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn for Business and Ultimate Guide to Twitter for Business. Ted is a social selling expert and the founder of Search Marketing Simplified, a full-service social media training firm. Ted, I'm so looking forward to talking to you about mindset, and a very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Now, Ted, you've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, and you've achieved huge success with your business. I'd like to take you back. How did you start making a breakthrough in your business? When did it start really gearing up for you? And what role did your mindset play in that?
Well, I've had a wild ride in my career. I started 1980. I moved to San Francisco from the East Coast because I was in technology, and all the jobs were either in Boston or San Francisco at the time. And I was 21, and my sister had just moved to San Francisco. I said, I could go to Boston. It's really cold. I don't really like cold weather. So let me just go to San Francisco and see what happens. So I moved out here when Silicon Valley was just getting started. And it was the greatest time because literally all the Silicon Valley companies had billboards outside, and they would post their job openings in those letters. It's like you could walk in and get a new job every day of the week if you had your resume and said you knew technology. So for 20 years,
times.
It was crazy because for 20 years, I was in high demand. Everybody wanted to hire me. I worked for IBM Digital. They created the mini computer, the first computer that could go into offices. And I was fixing those. And then networking was invented. And then I got into cellular when cellular was being invented. So I was like the leading edge of all these amazing industries. And then in 2000, 2001, it all disappeared with the dot-com crash. So I had to start over from scratch. And I thought, I've always been in demand. I'll just get a new job. This will be fine. I got certified as a coach because I love mentoring people. And I realized I don't know how to sell and market. So my mindset, it took a long time to really overcome that, because from being in high demand to not be able to find a job or anything, I was just kind of in this no man's land. Nobody would hire people in their 40s in technology anymore because everything was outsourced to India at the time. So I was really struggling, and my mindset really kind of struggled. That's where I really kind of got into personal development. I was listening to Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar, all the classics. And I was always listening to these programs. That's why I got into coaching, because I loved that mindset. And for years, I was still listening to personal development stuff all the time. And my wife says, "Aren't you fixed yet? You've been listening to that stuff for 20 years. You know what? Those are classics. You just go back and listen to Zig Ziglar. It just motivates you. It's timeless." So that's kind of how I got into that. Now, for the last 20 years, it's been another roller coaster because I got into coaching, got certified as a coach, couldn't find clients, learned marketing, liked internet marketing. So I built an agency. So I was doing websites for people when it was HTML. I was doing search engine optimization before Google even got started. So again, I was a leading edge of all this stuff. But then that collapsed in 2008 when the economy tanked. So I had to start over again. So luckily, with all that personal development, all that mindset I learned from Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar kept me going forward. I had my downs, obviously, but that just kept me moving forward, reinventing myself. And I actually applied for a job. I was 52 years old and applied for a job online, and they hired me to be an online marketing manager. It was like, wow, I've applied for hundreds of jobs over the years and never got a response. And all of a sudden I got to find this dream job 5 miles from my house for a software company that was based out of Copenhagen. So it's like, it's been just crazy. So for 3.5 years, I worked for this software company right when the economy was recovering after the big depression or recession. And they laid us off. We like quadrupled the revenue in 3 years. They got venture capital investment. They brought in their own marketing agency and laid off 13 of us one day. Like, quadruple your revenue in the worst economy of our time, and your thanks is to lay us off. So there I am, like 55 years old, starting over again. And I had this opportunity to write the ultimate guide to LinkedIn for business. Now I've written 3 versions of that and the ultimate guide to Twitter for business. So in 10 years, I've written 10 books, and I've never written a book in my life. Like, I couldn't have made this up.
That's quite a roller coaster journey you've described there. But each time you picked yourself up and you went back, what were the main breakthroughs in terms of your mindset? When did you first think, oh, I get it? And what was the insight, and how did it help you?
Well, when I first moved here when I was 21 and I got a job so easily, I was like, oh, this is easy. And for all those years, it was just so easy. And I remember thinking, it was like late 1990s when the internet was just starting to take off. I remember saying to myself, I've been so blessed. For 20 years, I've been in demand. I'll never have to worry about finding a job in my life. I'm just set for life career-wise. And that was like within a year, the dot-com crash hit. And I was like on the street looking to start over. So that shift, kind of everything was so easy. Then I was like, oh, it isn't that easy. I've got to really figure this out. But I just kept listening to those CDs. I'm back on CDs at the time, walking around with my little CD player on my pocket. And it just kept me going forward, learning new, that concept of always learning something new and improving yourself. I just kept learning. I've never stopped. I just love it.
And what role does mindset play in your business now and in your life?
Oh, it's everything, especially now with what's going on. Like, so many of my clients are struggling right now. And luckily, I'm not. This is the first downturn in the economy in the last 20 years for me that I'm actually improving my business. So that whole mindset, I try to just carry it over to people. And I follow really positive people. I've been going through Facebook. If somebody puts anything negative up there, I unfriend them. Even if they're my best friend for 20 years. I don't want to see any negativity on there because it just really brings you down. So just keep positive. Eric Lofholm is one of my mentors. He's a great sales trainer here locally. And he's just always posting positive things. Keep positive, keep positive. Keep moving forward. Don't look back. Learn from the past, but just keep learning and improving.
And what's been your secret to thriving during the pandemic? Why is this time different to the others?
I finally learned my lesson.
Okay.
Oh, for years, like when I was coaching people, and then when I had my agency, I worked with really small business. So I'd go to local networking events and the Chamber of Commerce, and it was all small businesses for the most part that I worked with. And I didn't have really recurring revenue. Like, I'd build a website for you, I would charge you a fee, and I didn't charge monthly maintenance fees. Like, what am I thinking? It's maintenance of a website. Most small business owners didn't have the money to really do that. This is when websites were just really starting for businesses. So I had to convince people not only they needed a website, like, why would I need a website? Like, well, this internet thing is really taking off. It's back in those days. So now it's easy to sell a business a website. But back then it was like, oh yeah, you really do need this. You want to be ahead of your competitors. So it's been an interesting ride for sure, being at the beginning of all these industries.
So how have you managed to thrive in this pandemic?
Because I created a membership site. So I do on weekly coaching with people, and people pay me a monthly fee, and it's a small fee. I want to help as many people as I can. So I only charge $37 a month for my membership, and I give them training courses. Like we do live calls every week. So I'm just really trying to help as many people as I can. I could charge a lot more for it and have less people in it, but I want to help as many people as I can. So just having that little recurring revenue going, it's really kept me going through this.
Yeah, that's a really great way of doing it, the recurring monthly income.
And I think I've been on this is like the 49th interview I've been on since the middle of March, since the pandemic really hit us.
Wow.
So all these speaking events I had like 3 speaking events scheduled in Europe this summer. It's like, oh, this is going to be great. I'll take my wife full vacation in Europe, and that's all gone. All my speaking engagements, obviously, are gone for the year, but they've gone virtual. So like this one local one we go to, we usually get 30 to 40 people show up for this once a month breakfast meeting. We're getting 150 people to go online, the virtual version of that. So I'm reaching so many more people.
Yes, yes. Truly, the world seems, in a way, a smaller place because not everyone, but so many people are more online now than who's never been online. So suddenly there's a bigger audience to get your message out to, which is exciting. So tell me, Ted, how does it work? So you know things are going well for you, and then something doesn't work for whatever reason. How do you deal with setbacks? How do you pick yourself up and keep going?
Gosh, I worked for Cellular One in the early 1990s. This is like when the cell phones were like, you needed 2 hands.
Bricks.
And computer networking was really just getting started. So I remember my boss, I was like the IT guy. I was the network manager. I'm responsible for all the computers in the company. And just, I don't know, you've never fixed computers. People get really frustrated when they don't work. So they'll yell at you and give you a really hard time sometimes. And it's just, I would call up people and say, hey, I'm coming out to fix your computer. And they have to be yelling at me and screaming at me on the phone. And I'd show up at the door and they're like, oh, thank you for being here. They're like a whole different person. And I just was Mr. Positive, not confident. I remember my boss said one day, he goes, I don't know how you do it. Boy, you just get knocked down to the ground every single day and you pick yourself up and you're still smiling and you're still helping people. You still want to help them. It's like, I don't know, I guess I'm not sure where that came from. My parents used to own a restaurant, so that's very challenging for customer service. If ever, people are always complaining about something, trying to get a free meal. So I guess I learned it from my father, working in the restaurant. Just be positive, help as many people as you can, and they're going to send negative comments your way. Just let them go, learn from it, and move on.
So I'm hearing that you don't ponder on things, you don't churn things over in your head. You just move on.
Yeah, I kind of tease my wife because she can't think about the future. She can't even plan. At dinner times, like, what do you want for dinner? Oh, I don't know. She just doesn't want to plan for that even. She's like in the moment, literally. And she's always thinking, well, I should have, could have, would have done this. Like, she's always thinking, if I did this, I could have done that. Like, no, we're past that. Let's just move forward. So I'm the opposite of her in that way. So it makes some interesting conversations sometimes.
Yes. So she's looking backwards and you're looking forwards. Right.
I remember when our kids were young, weekends, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store. What do we want to plan for meals this week? And it would just make her so mad. Like, I can't plan. She didn't say that, but I could tell she was not happy. So it'd be come home from school, the kids are ready for dinner. And then she's coming out, I got to go to the grocery store. And we wouldn't eat dinner till 9:00 sometimes. And the kids should be in bed. It's and I'm just the opposite. My mother was always very organized and everything was pretty scheduled. So it was interesting times, but we've been together for 39 years. So we made it work.
Something's working there for sure.
Yeah.
It's really interesting what you said about, you just let it go and move on. That is a secret to being resilient, isn't it? Because if you're not churning it over in your head, going back over it, revisiting it, wishing you'd done this or said that instead, and why did that happen? If you're just moving on very quickly from any setbacks, and moving on to the next thing, then that means you're not getting caught up in that negative loop of thinking, which so many people suffer from. And that is a huge skill set. And it seems like you do it automatically.
Yeah, there's things I do struggle with longer than others, but I guess, gosh, it was this thing years ago. It's a personal development thing. It's called the Sedona method at the time.
Yes, yes.
And it's just where you kind of just, was like the straw. You put in a straw and you just let the negative go out of you, let it flow out of you. And I did that, gosh, it must be 20 years ago now. But that's kind of one way I just kind of let it go, just visualize it. Joe Vitale, I don't know if you ever follow him.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Opopono or whatever, however you say it.
Ho'oponopono, yes.
Yeah. You just say the words and let it go.
Yes.
Move on.
I love Ho'oponopono. It's very simple. And it is separating out what's actually going on out there from all the stories we make up about it. And actually what's going on out there is something that we can always deal with, whereas the stories are what make us miserable.
Right.
So it's just letting go of all of that, which isn't serving us.
We need the whole world to do that all at the same time right now.
Can you imagine how much peace would descend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you organise that. I can't remember
the 4 phrases. What were the 4? I love you. I'm sorry.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
Yes.
So if you can organise the world doing that together, that would be wonderful. I'll leave that to you.
That really helps me do that. You just kind of keep it positive. Like if you start yelling, somebody yells at you and you yell back, it just escalates. But if you just take a deep breath and let it go, they've obviously got some issues going on that are not even related to what the issue is right now. So everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, especially now.
Especially now, mindset is more important than ever. I find it helpful when I don't take things personally. If I don't take it personally, then it can't upset me. If I take it personally, then I start getting into long conversation in my head about it, which will only make me feel unhappy. And another thing I found really helpful is when I just say to myself, oh, when I catch myself in the midst of this negative conversation, I'm just making all of this up. And that really frees me up to think, well, why would I spend any time making up all of this stuff if it's not helping me? I could just let it go. Mm-hmm. It's the awareness, isn't it? It's catching yourself as quickly as you can in that conversation in your head so you don't pursue it.
Right. Yeah. I'm by nature a very sensitive person. I want to do my very best and help people. And people will criticize me at times. And that does upset me sometimes. But I've really learned to not take it personally.
Yeah. So. And how do you not take it personally? How do you do that?
I think I meditate every day, 10 to 20 minutes. Yeah, varies day to day. I journal. I kind of let things go that way. Just write as fast as you can for 20 minutes. I was journaling and I would just do random thoughts and think. But I learned this new technique, just speed journaling. Just write as fast as you can for 20 minutes. They even say go up to 50 minutes if you can. But it just kind of empties everything out of you. So I guess all these little things I do every day. I listen to positive music. Like if I'm writing, I put on meditative music. They have all the kind of different classical music, just calming music, just kind of relax. So I guess I never really thought about it, but I just have a good routine going.
Yes, it's your daily mindset practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got lots of things that you can reach out to, whatever feels right for you in that moment to help you to get through that moment.
Yeah. I get up in the morning and instead of turning on the news, I used to sit there and watch the news and drink coffee and read the newspaper. We don't get the newspaper anymore. So I just sit in quiet. Like my wife sleeps in. I get up at 5 every morning. So from 5 to 6:30, it's my alone time. So I just sit there and I just put on classical music even, but now I just silence. And I'll do my speed journaling and I'll do some meditating and walk the dog, go for a run. I've been doing a lot of Peloton bike riding lately. So different things. It's my me time.
Yeah, and that sets you up nicely for the day.
Yeah.
it's really important to find that time for self-care, because you want to help so many people, and feeling good about yourself, getting into a great headspace first thing allows you to have a really great day, I'm guessing.
Yeah. But every day's not perfect, obviously. Things
Obviously,
happen.
yes, yes, there are road bumps along the way, but it helps, doesn't it?
Life would be boring if it was just easy all the time,
Yes,
right?
yes. If everything worked perfectly first time, we would be sitting here twiddling our thumbs thinking, come on, bring on some challenges.
Right. Exactly.
Now, you're an expert at LinkedIn, and we've connected on LinkedIn. I've enjoyed chatting with you on LinkedIn. That's how we met, and you graciously agreed to come on my podcast. So we connected through LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is a great way, isn't it, of meeting new people. And I know that mindset plays a big part in how people use LinkedIn to connect with people.
Mhm.
So for anyone who thinks, oh, I don't want to reach out to people because I don't know what to say, or I might be bothering them, or they may not be interested in me, all of that talk, what would you say to them?
It's, gosh, I don't know. I love meeting people. I used to go to a lot of networking events when we could. And it's, for some reason, online people treat you differently. Like when I would call people to come out to service their computer, they'd yell at me on the phone. But face to face, they treated me with respect, total different. And it's the same thing with LinkedIn and social media, any social media platform. If you treat people like you're talking one to one with them, if you're just having a cup of coffee at a restaurant, back when the days we could do that even. And things have changed so much in the last 4 months. It's just
Yes,
crazy.
it's a different world.
But you talk to someone, like I'll have my clients when we start working together. I say, okay, let's pull up your LinkedIn profile. Read it to me out loud. And they read their headline. It's like a boring job title. And their about section is all about them instead of, the problems you solve. And they're so embarrassed. So like treat people like you're talking one to one. Well, all the copywriting courses I've ever done, they always say, you're sending this email to 10,000 people on your email list, but write it like you're talking to one person. And it just comes across so much more friendly, and it really connects with people. Like a lot of times I'll send out a mass message to people and they'll reply and say, oh, thank you for thinking of me. And like, well, I sent that to 60,000 people, but thank you for.
And yet it feels as if you're speaking directly to them.
Right. Like we started a conversation on LinkedIn. I didn't start selling you anything. You didn't try to sell me anything. We just connected. Say, hey, it's nice to meet you. And we chatted. And here we are. And you're going to be a guest on my show.
Yeah. And I knew immediately that I wanted to interview you. But I didn't I didn't message you on my second message after saying, hi, Ted. I didn't say, well, can I interview you? We just build up a rapport. And as he said, it is as easy as having a conversation over a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Get to know each other. And eventually you build a relationship. I read a great book last year, Presence, from Amy Cuddy. She's a Harvard professor, and she went through a traumatic brain injury and really had to rebuild her whole life, being able to walk again. But she did a lot of this research on why, you meet some people in person and you have an instant connection, and other people's like, okay, and that's it. She says like there's factors when subconscious mind, when you meet people or see people's profile on LinkedIn, your subconscious mind makes decisions within 2 seconds. And it's based on really like George Clooney, you come in and his presence is just so powerful. Or like Ellen DeGeneres, she's just so happy and cheerful. So the factors, your subconscious mind is making those determinations in those first 2 seconds. So if you're like, invite me to connect on LinkedIn and your invitation is like really insincere and they're trying to sell you something even before you connect. It's like if we met in person, we instead of exchanging business cards, we exchange credit cards so we can charge each other.
Yes, yes.
Like, hire me. Is that desperate or what? It's like, no, send a friendly invitation. Hey, I liked your profile picture, or we have to be careful with that because I get a lot of women reaching out. Is LinkedIn becoming a dating site?
So what is a nice, easy conversation starter on LinkedIn?
Usually I try to connect now. I used to connect with almost everybody that invited me. I try to make it more people I actually meet at events or I've met or actually saw them on a podcast like this. And I'll say, hey, I saw you on so and so's show. I really enjoyed what you said. Instead of this insincere, we have some common connections on LinkedIn, or we're in the same industry. Like, so I'm not going to connect with other people in marketing because they're going to try to sell me something. So I try to make it more authentic. I have over 22,000 connections on LinkedIn now, which I think I have way too many. When I wrote the first edition of the book 8 years ago, I had 642 connections. I had a nice small network of people I actually knew. And then I said, I want to get to 30,000. I don't know why, because other people were getting to 30,000 connections. So I started accepting all invitations. And it's just, I get so many solicitations now. It's just, it's an unpleasant experience. So find something that's really, where you actually saw them or you read something and said, we always see these articles people write, but we don't actually read the article and we still like it. That can come back and haunt you sometimes, because sometimes it's a controversial thing that they posted and then you're associated with that controversy.
Mm. Is it better then to actually read the article or listen to the podcast and say something that you actually enjoyed about it, rather than just saying something bland about it?
I'm finding quality over quantity these days works so much better. I'd rather have 10 really good conversations on LinkedIn than 100 superficial. Because those people don't ever become my clients. They're just kind of trying to ride your wave of publicity.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we're coming to the end of our time together, and I could talk for a lot longer than that, but however, time is, we're coming to the end of this. So before we finish, I know you've got something really special to share with our audience. So could you tell us about your gift, please?
Yeah. If you come to my website, yourlinkedincoach.com, I've got it's a 7-part LinkedIn series. And it's kind of my philosophy of engaging with people authentically, quality over quantity, and really just build good relationships with a few people that turn into long-term clients and lots of referrals. So it's right on my homepage, yourlinkedincoach.com. And it's 7 LinkedIn strategies. It's 7-part video series. All short videos, all a couple minutes long. It's not like hours and hours of content. It's just, here's what you do. It's so easy. Like we're having this conversation here.
And I would recommend everyone go and pick up that free training, because Ted, you really are fantastic at what you do on LinkedIn. I've been so impressed by following you and seeing the great content you're putting out there. So the link for that is yourlinkedincoach.com. And there's a 7-part free training on how you can engage on LinkedIn. And engaging effectively on LinkedIn really is the key to building great relationships. And if you do engage authentically, you're going to stand out from the crowd, aren't you?
Yes. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, make sure you mention you saw me on this show, and I will accept your invitation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your pearls of wisdom around mindset. And for everyone who's been watching and listening, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your company. Till next time. Bye-bye for now.